The president swore to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. That's against all comers. Domestic or foreign, that's what ours says, right? Did he do that? No, on the contrary. He's like the fire chief. He doesn't just say, go ahead and shout fire in the crowded theater. He summons the mob and sends the mob to go burn the theater down. And when people start madly calling him and ringing the alarm bells, he watches it on TV. And he takes his sweet time for several hours. He turns up the heat on the deputy fire chief, who he's mad at because he's not making it possible for him to pursue his political objectives. And then, when we say, we don't want you to be fire chief ever again, he starts crying about the First Amendment. Brandenburg was a case about a bunch of Klansmen who assembled in a field, and they weren't near anybody such that they could actually do violent damage to people, but they said some pretty repulsive, racist things, but the Supreme Court said they weren't inciting imminent lawless action because you couldn't have a mob, for example, break out the way that this mob broke out and took over the capital of the United States of America. And by the way, don't compare him to one of those Klansmen in the field asserting their First Amendment rights. Assume that he were the chief of police of the town who went down to that rally and started calling for a rally at the city hall, and then nurturing that mob, cultivating that mob, pulling them in over a period of weeks and days, naming the date and the time and the place, riling them up beforehand, and then just saying, be my guest. Go and stop the steal. Come on. Back to Tom Paine. Use your common sense. Use your common sense. That's the standard of proof we want. They're already treating their client like he's a criminal defendant. They're talking about beyond a reasonable doubt. They think that we're making a criminal case here. My friends, the former president is not going to spend 1 hour or 1 minute in jail. This is about protecting our republic and articulating and defining the standards of presidential conduct. And if you want this to be a standard for totally appropriate presidential conduct going forward, be my guest. But we're headed for a very different kind of country at that point.